Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Mostly Sports Talk Show. Lots of stuff going on in sports. The last couple of weeks, we got NBA playoffs, we got the Mets, we got the Yankees, we got a bunch of NFL stuff to talk about. The NBA is in full swing. What happened last night to the Knicks? I don't know. We're going to go over a bunch of that. Could there be ghosts of Reggie Miller in the building? I have no idea. But anyway, we're going to get into a bunch of stuff today. But I've been telling you guys in the past that I've been kind of looking for another co-host to do my show with. Obviously, E-Dubs is on doing his bigger and better things with his podcast. So kind of want to look for a new co-host. So I've been asking around a couple people, and I was going to ask somebody today to sit in and help me out, a guy from work, but he couldn't do it. He had some kind of, he had some kind of thing he had to do with his kids, but that's definitely understandable. But I do actually have a new co-host, and I'm not going to reveal the name of the co-host yet because he's taking a little bit of a break before he has to come and give me his full attention. But he'll be back, and our first show is going to debut probably next week or the week after. But once my new co-host comes aboard, we're going to have some more continuity to this show. We're going to give you a morning, mostly sports talk show. And when I mean mostly sports, I mean we're going to get mostly sports, but there's definitely we could definitely take a hard left or a hard right and talk about other things as well. But yeah, that's good news for the mostly sports talk show. Keep Talking 365 is going to keep going as well. So all right, welcome and good morning. So last night, right, there was a game in Madison Square Garden. I turned on the television. People in Madison Square Garden were loud. They were going crazy. They were happy. The Knicks are in the finals. Not the finals. The Knicks are in one step away from the finals. I watched that game last night. Something concerning to me. The one concerning thing to me last night, well, actually, there's two concerning things to me last night if you're a Knicks fan. One, I think the Knicks played really good last night. They played hard. They played tough. They played strong. Everybody except for Karl Anthony Towns, because I got something about that guy. I think he is one of the softest players in the NBA, but that's just me. I mean, I'm not a basketball coach by any stretch of the imagination, but a big man needs to be underneath the basket. Karl Anthony Towns, he shoots 3-pointers, he scores some points. It's all well and good, but what about when you got a team that hovers underneath the basket and is tough? Karl Anthony Towns goes outside, tries to take some 3-pointers. Sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. When they go in, great. Guys scoring 24 to 30 points. But when they're not, go under the basket. Try to switch up your game. Try to be that tough guy that everybody thinks you are going to be. It's not going to happen, though, with Karl Anthony Towns. If they win this championship, if they win this series, it's going to be on the back of one Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson did everything he possibly could last night to win that basketball game. There's something going on with Jalen Brunson. The guy, he plays hard. The guy's always on the ground. He gives you 100% of his game every single night he steps onto that court. Fouled out again last night. Fouled out last week, early in the game as well. It's one thing about his game that he has to kind of mature about a little bit. When I say mature, I'm not saying he's making immature fouls. I'm not saying he's complaining. I'm not saying he's really, but I think he's sometimes trying to do too much. I mean, that last foul last night that fouled him out of the game was kind of like a little bullshit foul, but it was a foul hence anyway. But he's got to kind of keep his head in the game, because if that guy's on the court for all 42 minutes of that basketball game, I think the Knicks win that game last night. But something happened. Something happened to that Garden Magic. Something happened to the Knicks. The concerning part about that game last night was that Knicks team should have won that basketball game. They, like I said before, they play tough, they play hard. But that Indiana Pacers team, they just keep coming at you and coming at you and coming at you. If you look at the Indiana Pacers, there's teams out there in the NBA right now that you're going to look at them specifically for the prowess of their one or two players, their stars, their guy. The Knicks aren't like that, and the Pacers aren't like that. They're two like old school basketball teams going against each other, where if you look at the Indiana Pacers, all 5 of their starters last night scored in double digits. Tyler Halliburton. Is Tyler Halliburton going to become the Reggie Miller thorn in your side that the Knicks fans had back in the 90s? He did something last night that was so what normally happens to the Knicks, or what normally happens to my teams. Good thing I'm not a Knicks fan, but I am a Celtics fan, and I'm going to eat my shit in a couple of minutes. I'm going to talk about that too. But the Pacers just keep coming at you, and something happened last night. Time was running down. Game was going to be over. Tyler Halliburton gets the basketball, puts it up. Tyler Halliburton, I'm not saying it was 100% luck. I'm not saying that he didn't put the ball up at exactly the right time. But what that ball did last night was bounce 40 feet up in the air and drop down for what everybody thought was a three-pointer and a game-winning shot. Happened to be a two-point shot. And it absolutely, there's a visible chaos in the feet of the players. There's not discomfort level on the floor. There's a discomfort level a little bit, man, because the fact is they played their best game last night, Kev. They played their best game. And I'm a little concerned about the fact that you think they could do that for, for a couple more games because they put everything out there on the court last night, but the Pacers just kept coming and coming and coming. And back to what Halliburton did. Halliburton did something last night. That ball wasn't going to go in, but you know why it went in? Because it was the MSG mystique. Something goes wrong for the Knicks all the time. Go all the way back to I want to say it was 1997. Eastern Conference Finals. Who goes to the championship? The Pacers. You know why? Reggie Miller became an animal. Not that he wasn't an animal to begin with, but one of the biggest moments, I think, in NBA history came in game one of that series when Reggie Miller scored 9 points in 8 seconds. I'm sorry, it's reversed. 8 points in 9 seconds. Last night when Halliburton put that ball up and it went in, that was kind of like Pacer-like against the Knicks because the Knicks, they couldn't defend that. He put the ball up and it happened to go in. So you want to call it luck. You want to call a little bit of unluck on the Knicks' part. Something happened last night and the Pacers won that game. And like I said, it was a tough game last night. The Knicks, who won that series? Which series? The one with Reggie Miller? The Pacers. The Pacers won that series. They won it 4-1. And I think the Knicks went on to win after that or before that. But I think it was 97, Kev. Got to look at my notes here a little bit. Let me see what we got here. I wasn't going to start with basketball. I was going to start with baseball. But while we're talking about basketball, what the hell? Let's see. I go through my notes here. I want to make sure I get this right because I don't want to be giving false information here. You know what I'm saying? So, let's see. Breakdown of all the games here. Yes, it was 1997, and they did win that series. So this series going forward is going to be something that the Knicks are going to have to play as hard as they can. They're going to have to stop Halliburton. Halliburton is going to become, like I said to you before, the thorn in their side if they let him play the game the way he plays. When he put that choke sign up, Knicks fans, that had to get you so goddamn mad. That had to bring you right back to that night. That had to bring you right back to, holy shit, is this going to happen again? Because I tell you right now, this Knicks team can win this series. But every single night, they have to go out on that floor and they have to play that kind of basketball. They have to catch somebody slipping. But the luck of the draw is not always with the Knicks. It's usually with the other team. I don't know, Knicks fans. You guys out there talking about how it's the Garden of Eden. I know I say it all the time. The Knicks, it's the Garden of Eden. It's the Garden of Eden. They haven't won a championship there since 1969, guys. This might be the year, maybe not. Jalen Brunson's going to carry this team if that's the way they're going to do it because it's not going to be Karl Anthony Towns. But they do have a good supporting cast. Josh Hart's a dog. You know, you got a bunch of guys in there that are getting rebounds. So they have to continue to play. Nobody could be caught slipping in this series. Nobody. Because if any of the Knicks get caught slipping, the Pacers are going to absolutely capitalize on every single move that they make because Knicks, you got a tough road ahead of you. I'll be watching, though. I'll be watching. As I know, my friend Kevin here is paying attention as well. And texted me last night, a little happy about how the Knicks were playing, but what happened? I went to bed too. You said you did also, so you probably waited till you woke up this morning and find out that they lost. But it's going to be good going forward. Tomorrow night we have another game against the Knicks and the Pacers. And this is one thing too that you got to look at when you're looking at the Indiana Pacers. Now, Pacers are a team that, look, I become an NBA basketball fan about 60 games into the season. Because if you're a hardcore NBA fan, it's unwatchable for the first 60 games because nobody really plays. They kind of like, worry about people getting hurt. They're worrying about playing too hard. It's what the NBA is now. The NBA wasn't like that back in the 90s, 80s, 70s. People played whatever the minutes they were told to play. But this day and age, they kind of play when they want so they can maybe, not get injured or be there. But the argument that I have with the young generation of these basketball players is toughness. You guys all seem to think that they're better basketball players this day and age. Nobody back then rested. Everybody got up for every single basketball game. Everybody got up for 82 games, not 20 plus the playoffs, 82 basketball games. And that's what made basketball great back in the day. So I don't want to hear this bullshit from any of you young kids out there that say this NBA is better than the old NBA. Not saying it's bullshit. It's a different game. But the way I look at basketball, number one priority is toughness. So if you're tough, you're going to score. You're going to make the other team not wonder what you're going to do. Are you going to go to the basket? Are you going to shoot threes? I know it's a 3-point game. I know it's a game where they're scoring 130, 140 points, but toughness has been lost. Bring a little bit of that toughness back. So maybe players like Shai Alexander, the way he's playing right now, won't drive so much. All these players that they just run to the basketball hoop with no avail because they know that there's either going to be a foul or nobody's going to block them because there's no defense being played. So to compare the game back then and now, it's hard because a lot of these players today are pussies. And yeah, I said it out loud, they're pussies. Back then, toughness. And that, I think, is what's going to beat the OKC Thunder, if anybody does, out of the East. It's the toughness because talent-wise, it's in the West. I mean, you look at that West right now, it's like it's covered in talent. You got the OKC Thunder. Anybody think the OKC Thunder were going to be as good as they are? You go all the way back when they had Harden, they had Durant, and they had Westbrook on the same team. They made a run. But if you think of those three guys, where they went, they didn't go nowhere. Durant, what's he got? Nothing. Westbrook, what's he got? Nothing. Harden, what's he got? Nothing. Imagine that team stuck together. They'd be working on their second dynasty with Shai Alexander. Because this day and age, it's all about where you're going to go, where you're comfortable. Kevin Durant, you are the softest superstar. The only reason why you are the softest superstar is because you're a bigger superstar than Karl Anthony Towns. So between you and him, you guys are soft. And I'm going to say it 1,000 times over because I truly feel that way. But toughness has to come through in this because the Indiana Pacers are a tough team. Now let's go to this next game over here. We got the game in the West over there. I'm going to talk about that for a second. I touched on it briefly. Shai Alexander had 31 points last night. You look at a team that Shai Alexander can. He really doesn't have to be the man. I mean, you got you got all these guys. Hartenstein. I mean, this guy is playing hard, and I think Hartenstein is probably one of the main reasons why the Denver Nuggets went home because not too many people play Jokic is tough, but that motherfucker really D'd up on him and played him tough, man. So again, I'm pointing it out again. Toughness has to become a priority in basketball now because if it's not. Look, I know you guys like the high-scoring games. Look, I know. Remember back then, chicks dig the long ball in baseball with the steroids. Everybody wanted to see the home run. I usually like to watch a good pitching duel. That's how I feel about basketball too. I like seeing people on the floor getting pushed down. I like seeing people not being able to dunk the basketball because they got somebody in their face all the time. That's what I like to see in basketball. This day and age, you're going to get toughness against talent. And all the talent and all the points are in the West because Minnesota and OKC, they went at it last night. Well, 2 nights ago. Now, Anthony Edwards. If Anthony Edwards would just grow up a little bit, he would be dangerous. I mean, the kid's got paternity suits all over the place. I know he just paid off some woman, whatever the amount of money it is, 12, 13, $14 million. Personally, I think, no check that you cut for your kid is gonna, make this kid be like, oh, hey, my dad's got a lot of money. My dad plays in the NBA. I'd be there for your kids, bro. And the fact that you've been fighting these paternity suits, I guess it's got a lot weighing on your head, but you got to take care of the kids, man. Stop with the paternity suits. You got rappers calling you out and calling you a bad dad. You got to think about that for a second. So maybe if you would get away from the fact of knocking up all these girls and all these paternity suits, maybe instead of 18 points, maybe you'd score 40. Or maybe you get some assists. I'm not saying he's playing bad. Julius Randle, playing great. Julius Randle's a great addition to that team. You know where Julius Randle came from? The New York Knicks. You know who else is playing good on that team? Playing off the bench, but he's hitting some shots? Dante DiVincenzo. Do you know how awesome it would be for a guy like Dante DiVincenzo to be told he's not good enough to hang out and play with his Villanova buddies over there in New York? Goes over to Minnesota, play with Edwards and Gobert and all these guys and win a championship. So Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo were told that they weren't good enough to play on that Knicks team, so they got sent out. Now they're playing on a Minnesota Timberwolves team where a mature Anthony Edwards is dangerous. Julius Randle, like I said, When he's got a good team around him, he's going to play. Minnesota's a tough team. They really are. And you better hope that Anthony Edwards doesn't decide to mature a little bit because that kid's putting up 40. OKC, Shai Alexander, you could put up as many points as you want because the fact that Edwards is going to be driving to the hoop. Gobert's another one who killed him last night. You got to have more than 3 rebounds, dude. You just have to. You got to have more than 3 rebounds. The way that team is made up, they're a team they're a team. They're a unit. They rely on each other. There's not LeBron James there where it's going to take the ball. Maybe sometimes when he wants the ball. Maybe not. He's the complete anti-superstar because I think he's a pussy. I always find a way to attack LeBron James. And he just did something the other day again that really burnt me up. So I'm going to talk about that on my next podcast. But that guy just continues to be a piece of shit. And it just, nobody even sees that. There's something about personality traits in men. And he has all the personality traits of somebody that's a super talented guy, but doesn't do it for the team. Does it for himself. He's a look at me guy. But I would stop talking about LeBron. I could go off about LeBron. But I think Minnesota is going to beat OKC because I think they're going to look at last night's game. Gobert didn't rebound. He's going to rebound more. You're going to say that maybe, McDaniels, maybe he could play better. Maybe say, maybe the bench could play a little better. You know what happened the other night in OKC? OKC's bench got 30 points and 20 rebounds. That's how you win playoff basketball games. Not 5 guys on the court scoring all the points. You got a bench. Minnesota's bench is doing it, and OKC's bench is doing it. The Knicks and the Pacers. The Knicks are relying on their guys. They're starting 5. They're tired. The Pacers got a bench also. If you're going to show up in the NBA championship against either one of those teams, your bench has to be, ready to rock and roll because those guys are getting tired. The NBA season is a long season. It was even longer back when they actually played 82 games, but when you go from game 60 to now, but you're still playing on a high level. They're still high-level athletes, and they're tired. So going into this NBA championship coming up, I don't know who it's going to be. It's going to be one of these 4 teams that's going to walk off that court in a couple of weeks with the championship. I just know that's not going to be my Celtics. I want to touch on them for a second. I want to touch on the Celtics because I was going through some of their past championship teams, some of their past victories, some of their past, I guess, dynasties, maybe you would call them. This Celtics team doesn't have what was needed to come in the clutch. This Celtics team has a new owner right now. We all know what happened a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, Knicks, you kicked our ass. You were tougher than us. Jaylen Brown did everything he can. And I had Kevin, my buddy over there, tell me the other day, and he's absolutely right. I spoke a little too soon when I said that the Celtics gave up. Celtics didn't give up. The Knicks were just too strong for them. And I even was a little skeptical, even if Tatum didn't get hurt. And I'm going to tell you why I'm a little skeptical about that. And I know I've gone off in the past about this. And I'm a Celtics fan. And I've been a Celtics fan for a long time. I could pinpoint it to 1986 championship, watching Larry Bird just go nuts. And then, holy cow, this guy Larry Bird's pretty damn good. So around 85, 86 is when I really started following basketball. And that's just why I'm a Boston Celtics fan, guys. I guess the Knicks weren't that good. Even through those Knicks runs in the 90s, they were fun to watch. But anytime Michael Jordan's on the court, you got to watch out because 6 championships, 6 league MVPs. Everybody else was just trying to keep up with Michael Jordan at that time. But in the 80s, you had Larry Bird. Michael Jordan came on the scene in 87, 88, 89, 90, then he started to win his championships. But my first vision of what basketball should be was from Larry Bird. And that's why I look at basketball as a tough sport because I don't think there's anybody that played the game tough. The people played the game tough, but he played the game to a level of he didn't want to talk to nobody. He didn't want any friends. He just wanted to go out there and play basketball. So I'm used to watching that, and then I see Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, listen, I I was a little hard on him by calling him, not a leader, not a superstar. All right, he's a superstar. Superstars do things in the playoffs that normal good players, normal great players don't do. They will their teams to win. And I could go down the laundry list of players that's been done. It's just look at Bill Russell back in the day. Bill Russell played 13 seasons in the NBA. You know how many championships he won? 11. Had Kuzi, had a good team around him. Red had just instinctual talent to find these players, instinctual voice to will his team and say, who cares? Just go out there and play basketball. The racism back in the day that these Celtics teams had to deal with. Bill Russell had to deal with so much racism back in the day. And then he got back on that court and he played basketball, won 11 championships for a city that looked at him as not equal because of the color of his skin. So today, in this day and age, when you see a lot of players that are going through stuff, or players that can't take the booze, or players that can't take, you know, the crowd noise, think about what guys like Bill Russell had to go through, Jackie Robinson. And listen, you could go through, again, a long, long list of players that had to go through a lot of crazy stuff just to play the game that they love. Try being Bill Russell, 11 championships in front of City. Couldn't stand him because of the color of his skin. This Celtics team is not comparable to any Celtics teams in the past. The only reason why 08, 09, and 10 weren't three in a row, Garnett got hurt, and it was Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant was there, just like Michael Jordan was there. But Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, 08, that season was great. Once Kevin Garnett joined that team, I was ecstatic. Because you know why? Other than Michael Jordan, I got two other favorite basketball players on the planet. And it's Kevin Garnett and Allen Iverson. And Kevin Garnett, to me, epitomized the way I loved to see basketball play. Kevin Garnett got on that court and he was an animal. Nothing mattered. No friends. Everybody was your enemy. You had the basketball in your hand and you were on the opposite side and you were wearing a different colored jersey or a different logo, you were the enemy. Paul Pierce, an assassin. You guys were the enemy. Maybe they had friends in the NBA. I'm sure they did. But like Michael Jordan, like Kobe Bryant, like tough players of the past, it didn't matter who was on the other side of the basketball team. My job was to kick your ass and win and beat you at all costs, not to yuck it up on the basketball court with you. So the only reason why that Celtics team, in my eyes, did not win three in a row, Kevin Garnett got hurt. In a day and age where you need superstar players on a team, because, you want to say LeBron's big three, I don't know, but the big three was back in Boston, and that was a big three. Garnett gets hurt. They lose it. They lose it. They come back in 10. They lose to the Lakers. They got one championship out of those players. And it came crashing down pretty hard. And then from there, they just had to start over again. I got to be honest, too. I mean, they had Rajon Rondo on that team. Liked Rondo, liked the way he played, but there was just something about him that he just didn't, and I don't know what it is. But Rondo played a big part in that organization, too. Celtics have also had a lot of stuff happen to them that don't normally happen to normal franchises. Len Bias, dead. Reggie Lewis, dead. Understand why. But the Celtics of the past, that spirit is lost to the new generation of players. It's a lost technology like landing on the moon. Kev, I heard we haven't landed on the moon. But I think that's something me and you